I just wish the black woman knew, like, you don't gotta wear wigs to be beautiful. You don't have to wear eyelashes to be beautiful, like
Mm-hmm.
eyebrows. Like, you don't need all that. You're beautiful, like, just the way you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not black girl magic either. Black girl magic is natural.
I just wish the world would acknowledge that black women are the blueprint for everything that is considered fashionable and trendworthy. Now, there's been a lot of discourse around this particular podcast and this particular clip, and I'm going to tag these young ladies. I don't know if they're open to hearing this conversation, but just in case that they are, to help move the conversation forward, hopefully in their minds, and give you a little bit of film history, because that's what I do. Now, when it comes to these young ladies specifically, I don't know what level of shelter that there has been within their community or their zeitgeist when it comes to understanding the impact of Black culture, the history of Black culture, specifically on the screen or cinematic history. But if you're going to comment on the aesthetic specifically of Black women and the adornment of Black women, then you have to understand the history of the adornment of Black women, particularly in American culture, which exports to every culture. This is history that I've studied heavily because I've been in the process of making a documentary about natural hair in particular for the last 15 years. I started making it fresh out of film school. What I know about the adornment of Black women, particularly the adornment of the hair of Black women, is that upon the arrival of this country, Black women were forced to shave their heads because of the intimidation of Black hairstyles and the meaning of messages behind Black hairstyles. So the braiding and the adornment with beads, with mud, with all types of materials and Black hair not only signified messages, if you were mourning, if you were married, your status within the community, but it also was used to draw out maps to freedom or to get away from slavery. And so the idea that you could recognize, oh, you're from this tribe or you're from that tribe, and communicate with different people from different tribes, or understand somebody's royalty or status within the community, or find a way to get out of freedom via someone's hairstyle, is the reason why our hairstyles were stripped away from us. And then in our history, long after that, our hair was, because of the intimidation that other cultures felt because of the adornment of our hairstyles, we were made to legally cover our hair. So whether that was in the state of Louisiana, where Black women literally were not allowed to wear their natural hair out on the street, or across Georgia, Tennessee, wherever there was slavery, where you had to cover your hair in the household. So that's when you look at photos of Black women during the course of slavery, their hair literally had to be covered as a rule because the white women of those households felt intimidated by Black hairstyles, the adornment, the style, the texture, which represented Black specificity, power, and beauty. Keeping in line with that, it has always been a part of our community to add extensions, styles, different things to mask our hair, braid our hair, twist our hair, make it high, make it low, make it wide. They're all of these things that we use to add to our hair, which you would consider extensions in this day's time, that has always been an expression, an artistic expression of our culture, our individuality, and our being as Black people. Keeping in line with that, a lot of different cultures have adopted what we use as Black beauty and adornment and aesthetics as a part of their own aesthetics, since we have been a part of different cultures and people have had access to African cultures by way of Africans being a part of different cultures around the world. Okay, so how does that relate to film? Well, over the course of film and television, because that's a medium where this beauty aesthetic can be exported to different cultures all around the world, there has been purposeful effort to grab these aesthetics from the screen and pull them off. So very specifically, seeing a dark-skinned Black woman on screen with a big afro, there was a studio that had this beautiful Black woman in a film, and they pulled her from the film specifically. This was said within a studio session. If Black women see themselves on screen and see how beautiful they are and know that, that will change their culture and our relationship with them. Meaning, we are not going to be able to dominate them in the same way if they see themselves within that beauty standard. Additionally, there have been several different Black beauty movements that have attempted to shift Black women, Black people in general, but Black women specifically, into a more natural aesthetic. So during the Black Love movement, the concept of the Afro, which was a very shaped circle, right? Which is a style. Your hair doesn't grow in that circle, but it's a style meant to show off the height and the lack of gravity effect on the Black hair. And then, of course, more recently, when I started making my documentary in 2011, there was the upswing of a new natural hair movement that has lasted, and its effects have lasted to this day. With that, we've seen a shift in what is allowed on screen. Mind you, there are gatekeepers that you do not see that make the decisions about what ends up being on screen that impacts our culture. So since that last natural hair movement, there has been a humongous wave of seeing more natural hair and aesthetic in general on screen. So you've seen more twist outs, you've seen more afros, you've seen more natural hair in general on screen that is a residue from that natural movement. It doesn't work the other way. It only works, the impact of culture has then impacted what people are demanding to see on screen, albeit all kinds of discrimination. So there's been a ton of discrimination, whether you're on the news or whether you're an actress on television or in movies. There has been an outpour of hatred and discrimination against the Black aesthetic and seeing it on screen, particularly the natural Black aesthetic and seeing it on screen. Ask any actress or any newscaster who is deemed to wear their hair natural at their job and ask what kind of hate and vitriol and death threats they've gotten for showing up with their natural aesthetic. So to try and demonize Black women for adorning themselves however they choose in the light of the violence against Black women for showing up naturally at their job, at their workplace, in their lives is unbelievably. The word I want to use is unaware, and I think that's the softest word I can use. Unbelievably unaware of the history and the context for this aesthetic. Now, because these young women are so young, and potentially, I don't know for sure, but potentially there's maybe a lack of access to this kind of understanding, which Google is free, but fair. Like, it may not be a part of the culture and conversation to seek out this knowledge and understanding. Perhaps there is some grace due. Perhaps. What I do want to explain, because there's been a lot of conversation about, oh, no other demographic is like demonized so much for the decisions they make us about their aesthetic. What I do want to say about that is, yes, that is true. However, it's so incredibly complex, and there's so much context there that Black women showing up however they want to show up is a revolutionary act. And when it comes to film and television, we as creators of film and television, you as a creator of film and television, regardless of what demographic you are from, having a level of understanding of these contexts, if you are interested in having a level of understanding of these contexts and that being reflected in your work, only elevates your work because you create the culture in which these conversations happen inside of. And while everyone has the space and the ability to communicate whatever it is that they want to communicate about the human experience, the more you know and the more you understand, the better versed you are on communicating the human experience from a place of understanding, knowing, context, historical, education. And therefore, whatever it is that you have to say to the world with that understanding is therefore much more sophisticated and therefore more last-longing, meaning the canon of your work will be more timeless because of what you know, as opposed to being short-lived because of what you didn't understand. I hope this helps when it comes to writing, directing, or creating anything for the masses. The more you know, the more revolutionary and long-lasting your work is.